Picture this: a slip of metal no bigger than your thumb quietly slipping through hands at the cashier. Yet when you look closer, it whispers stories of a moment in history that collectors still chase today. Our journey kicks off with a dime struck in 2007, an unassuming piece at first glance. But for those who know where to inspect, it hides quirks and anomalies that elevate it from pocket change to prized treasure. This isn't about dry dates or dusty ledgers. It's about tracing the pulse of a year, spotting those eye-catching mistakes born from hurried presses, and understanding why a mint's tiniest slip can send ripples through auction halls. The story really begins in Philadelphia, where the 2007 dime was born under the steady hand of the U.S. Mint's modern operation. By 2007, the Mint had honed production to millions per day, churning out Roosevelt dimes with laser precision. Yet, even in that era of mass production, human variables and mechanical were introduced opportunities for error. Doubled dies, clipped planchets, and off-center strikes found their way into circulation. Those quirks serve as windows into the daily grind of a vast industrial process, reminding us that each dime left the press with its own little fingerprint. At first glance, the 2007 Roosevelt dime mirrors every other issue. Franklin D. Roosevelt's stern profile on the obverse, olive branch wreath cradling a torch on the reverse. But collectors learn quickly to peer beyond the obvious. The fine lines of Roosevelt's hair and the precise lettering of Liberty reveal more under magnification. On certain specimens, you might detect doubling along the date or on the motto, "In God We Trust," a telltale sign of a doubled die. Finding even a hint of extra metal jump can send a dime's value climbing from face value to a collector's offering. Early in 2007's mintage run, a handful of dimes exhibited clipped planchets, where the blank metal disc was slightly trimmed by misaligned cutting dies. These clipped planchets are rare compared to errors on other denominations, precisely because dimes pass through more exacting equipment. When you spot one of these, you're holding a coin that escaped the Mint's rigorous inspection, a silent testament to the unexpected slip in a highly automated system. Beyond planchet issues, the Mint's high-speed presses sometimes produced off-center strikes, where the die doesn't imprint exactly in the coin's center. On the 2007 dime, off-center strikes beyond 3 millimeters can be quite sought after, as they dramatically shift Roosevelt's portrait toward one edge and cut off part of the torch. Collectors prize off-center strikes both for their visual oddity and their clear documentation of a moment when precision briefly faltered. But raw error alone doesn't tell the full story. It's the combination of error type, degree of misalignment, and surviving population that determines market appeal. A dime with a slight doubling on the date might fetch modest premiums, whereas a broad strike piece or a highly off-center coin showing only half the reverse design can command hundreds of dollars. Scarcity drives value, and the U.S. Mint's record-keeping gives us solid estimates of how many error dimes slipped through, information that savvy collectors use to anticipate future demand. Shifting gears to the mainstream market, a perfectly struck 2007 dime in gem-proof condition, graded PR70 by Professional Services, regularly sells in auction lots for around $15 to $20, up from its original $2 face value. Uncirculated Mint State 70 examples with flawless surfaces may push slightly higher, but most MS68 and MS69 examples trade in the $5 to $10 range. While these prices might seem modest beside century-old rarities, they reflect a modern collector's willingness to pay for perfection in recent issues. When an error combines with high grade, values jump exponentially. A proof dime exhibiting a clear double die on Roosevelt's cheek and graded PR67 might exceed $200 at auction, simply because error proofs from 2007 are exceedingly scarce. One remarkable sale in late 2024 saw a PR67 double die example hammer at $350, proof that modern error coins can still ignite fierce bidding wars when few specimens remain for serious collectors. Digging into auction archives reveals tales that sharpen our understanding of the dime's appeal. In 2018, a clipped planchet 2007 proof dime surfaced in an estate sale in Ohio, tucked inside a box of foreign coins. It sold for $420 to a surprise dealer who recognized the clipping immediately. That single find prompted a flurry of collectors to recheck their proof sets, further driving awareness and demand for clipped planchets from that year. Beyond monetary measures, each error conveys a human story. The wear on a retired mint die, the tempo of the production line on a busy day, even the momentary misalignment of trays feeding planchets, all converge in that tiny circle of metal. Owning such a dime is like holding a snapshot of the mint's hidden backstage. From the mint's internal logs, we know that a specific die set used in March 2007 produced the majority of clipping errors. Collectors who trace die numbers can zero in on coins struck during that window, adding a detective element to hunting through rolls or proof sets. Of course, condition remains king. A circulated clipped planchet dime with noticeable bag marks or light wear still commands premiums above a typical 2007 dime. But the gap between circulated and mint state is stark. In grades MS65 to MS67, you might see a clipped planchet coin in the $150 to $250 range, whereas MS68 examples, preserving full luster, easily climb into $300 territory. Off-center strikes follow similar curves. Modest misalignments in MS60 fetch $60 to $100, but those beyond 50% off-center in MS65 or higher can shoot past $500. For serious collectors mapping out a budget, it helps to chart how price moves with grade. In circulated grades about EF40, even a large clipping error might only be worth $40 to $60. By 55 Australian dollars, the same coin jumps closer to $80. Mint state rarely shows any sign of circulation, so bag marks become the primary grading concern. Tiny contact spots drop value by half or more. A flawless MS67 clipped planchet offers the best sweet spot for investment, combining rarity with strong eye appeal. If you're examining a candidate coin, start with magnification of the design peripheries. Look for any abrupt, curved edge on the rim where metal is missing that indicates a clip. Then rotate the coin slowly under angled light to catch faint doubling on lettering. For off-center checks, place the coin under a template ring of correct diameter and see how much design falls outside that boundary. These simple checks separate casual finds from true rarities, and once mastered, they make every bulk purchase roll more exciting. As you close out your inspection of the 2007 dime and feel the thrill of discovering an error or flawless gem, keep in mind that each piece you add to your collection reflects a chapter in the mint's modern history. The year 2007 may seem recent, but within these dimes you'll find echoes of mechanical shifts, human oversight, and a forward march of quality control. That blend of precision and unpredictability is why this ordinary-seeming dime has become a must-have for modern error specialists. Before we jump ahead, take a moment to appreciate how this dime illustrates the surprising tales hidden in everyday change. Up next, we'll turn our focus to the classic 1966 dime, a coin whose errors and market journey carry the weight of more than half a century of American minting. Stay tuned as we uncover its unique background and value stories. Sliding seamlessly from our exploration of the modern mint's occasional slip-ups, let's wind the clock back nearly 6 decades to a decade defined by change and transition, 1966. This was the first year the United States Mint struck dimes without silver, swapping precious metal for a clad composition of copper and nickel. Even in a year when coinage underwent one of its most significant shifts, a handful of 1966 dimes slipped through with anomalies and telltale qualities that seasoned collectors chase with fervor. The contrasts here are stark, an era when the public still remembered the feel and value of silver coins. Yet the mint was moving into an age of cost efficiency and technological overhaul. In the early months of 1966, the mint pressed forward at its Philadelphia and Denver facilities, transitioning from the 90% silver dimes of yesteryear. That spring, mechanized lines fed planchets of pure copper core and cupronickel cladding into dies calibrated for precise weight and diameter. Despite rigorous quality controls, the sheer volume, over 39 million dimes struck that year, opened doors for a few unusual survivors. These aren't your run-of-the-mill fading memories of silver. They're clues to a pivotal moment in numismatic history, where the public's expectations met the mint's evolving priorities. What immediately sets the 1966 dime apart is its composition. To the naked eye, it looks nearly identical to its predecessors, but under a magnifying lens or on a scale, the copper-nickel sandwich betrays a lighter weight and a distinct metallic luster. Collectors prize full-bellied rims on these coins, a sign that the die struck with perfect force, fully expanding the metal to the edge. Coins that show slight die weakness, especially around Roosevelt's chin or the torch's flame, reveal the slow attrition of the dies as tens of millions pass through. These weak strikes aren't errors per se, but they offer insight into the mint's operational tempo that year. Yet errors did occur. Some 1966 dimes exhibit faint die cracks radiating from the reverse's olive branches or torch facets, stress fractures from overworked dies. While most of these are hairline thin and almost impossible to spot without a sharp loop, a subset shows more pronounced fissures, creating turquoise-like veins through the design. When these cracked dies were replaced, they often left behind unique die marriage numbers, letting dedicated error collectors pinpoint exactly which presses and time frames gave rise to each crack. A 1966 D mint mark paired with the correct die pairing can be a small thrill for specialists tracking die states. Perhaps more intriguing are the BFDO, broader field die offset varieties, where the die shifts just enough to leave a band of unstruck planchet around one rim, usually on the reverse. These off-center fields are subtle, often only a millimeter or two, but they carry enough visual intrigue to catch a seasoned eye. The broader field variety from Philadelphia can move a dime's value from a standard 50 cents up to $10 in uncirculated grades. Denver's cladding alignment sometimes produced near broad strikes, where the copper core peaks at the rim, creating a faint copper halo around the nickel exterior. These oddities, born of microscopic misalignments, underscore how even minor mechanical drift can create collectible anomalies. While modern sales platforms often highlight pure silver specimens, the copper-nickel 1966 pieces have carved their niche. In circulated grades, standard dimes trade in change bins for pocket lint rather than premiums. But once you spot a well-struck MS-65 example, with full luster and crisp detail, prices climb to the $10 to $15 range. A flawless MS-67 coin, especially one free of bag marks and with strong cartwheel luster, regularly sells for $30 to $40 in live auctions. Those who seek the elusive MS-68 can expect to pay between $75 and $100, with an occasional standout example reaching $120 if the eye appeal is off the charts. Auction records reflect the market's growing appetite for mid-20th century-clad errors. In 2023, a collector's find of a Philadelphia-minted MS-66 1966 dime with a pronounced die crack sold for $450, 20 times its standard MS-66 value. That sale spurred renewed interest in cracked die varieties, as bidders realized how few high-grade examples survive without polishing or cleaning. The story goes that this very piece came from a forgotten proof set purchased at a small-town estate auction in rural Texas, underscoring how such treasures can reside unnoticed for decades. Digging deeper into the transition era, you'll find tales of hoarded bags from curious bank tellers and treasury employees. Some employees suspected the public would hoard silver and speculated the clad coins would circulate more freely. In fact, early on, local banks reported odd hoarding patterns, people stockpiling copper-nickel dimes in anticipation of future collector demand. Those hoarded rolls, often kept in humid basements or attics, sometimes surface decades later with environmental toning, creating rainbow-hued patinas that further entice specialist collectors. A toned MS-63 1966 dime with subtle purple and blue sheens can double the price of a typical MS-63, provided the toning is even and visually appealing. Another quirky chapter involves proof-like dimes, business strike coins that accidentally received extra polishing or dye treatments reminiscent of proof dies. These so-called PL specimens bear reflectivity on the fields that stands out under raking light. They're distinct from cameo proofs, but can catch a collector's eye the moment they tilt under direct light. A properly graded PL65 piece has fetched up to $250, simply because it blurs the line between business strikes and official proof issues, a delightful misnomer for many specialists. Condition variations remain crucial. In circulated grades like XF40, a standard coin is worth face value, yet a BFDO or die-cracked example in the same grade may command $20 to $30. By 55 Australian dollars, with light bag marks only on the highest points, error varieties can fetch $50 or more. The jump to mint state requires careful scrutiny. Bag marks, contact abrasions, and strike weakness all chip away at value. An MS-66 with razor-sharp flames and unworn relief is a collector's dream, regularly trading hands for $150 to $200. Beyond MS-67, the population thins so much that obtaining a coin is half the battle. Prices between $300 and $500 are not uncommon, especially for striking error types. Of course, every great coin story has an anecdote that sticks with you. One collector recalls purchasing a worn roll of 1966 dimes for 50 cents at a coin shop's clearance table. On the very first coin, under a bright LED lamp, they saw the tiniest die-cracked snake through Roosevelt's ear. That single find lit the spark for a multi-year deep dive into clad-era dime errors, leading to discoveries of rare BFDO off-center examples and multiple dime marriages. It's proof that even a modest purchase can yield profound rewards, so long as you know what to look for and remain persistent. Examining a candidate 1966 dime begins with weight and feel. Clad coins weigh 2.27 grams, a noticeable drop from the silver dime's 2.5 grams. A quick scale test separates early proof silver issues from clad transition anomalies. Next, inspect the rim for any broad spots or missing metal that signal BFDO or off-center fields. Then focus on the torch's flame and the olive branch on the reverse, where die cracks most frequently appear. Under low-angle lighting, minute surface veins glow, revealing stress fractures invisible under direct glare. Soon, when you're ready to step back into the present, take a moment to line up your 1966 errors alongside the 2007 anomalies we explored earlier. Notice the threads that bind them: mechanical imperfection, human oversight, evolving technology, and the diverging stories they tell about the mint's journey. From silver's final curtain call to the advent of clad compositions, these coins frame a narrative arc few modern collectibles can match. As our journey nears its end, we'll draw these threads together and reveal what makes today's dime collecting more thrilling than ever before.